Start spreading the news.
We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
New York, I love you. I love New York.
Rose trying to get open, fires away. Bang! It's over! The Bulls win at the buzzer! Iguodala to Curry, back to Iguodala, up for the layup. Oh, blocked by James. LeBron James with the rejection. Puts up the three. Won't go. Rebound box. Back out to Allen. His three-pointer. Bang!
What's going on, people? Welcome to another episode of the Off the Ball podcast with me, your host, Chris LeBron. And on today's show, we got a good one for you. Summer League for the New York Knickerbockers starts today. We're getting right back into it with Summer League action. Can't wait to see all the young guys, see if we see any implementations of Mike Brown's offense with the team. So we got a good one today. But I have a special guest with me today, my guy, Dexter Henry. Dexter, my man, appreciate you coming on the show.
Chris, what's good, man? Glad to have you. It's a I call this a fun time of year. I like Summer League. I went for the first time, last year. There's a lot been going on with the Knicks, so it's fun to talk some Knicks basketball with some positivity and hope in the summer is what I'll say. I'm always glad for that.
Yeah, obviously this is a very exciting time for the Knicks, obviously coming off a season where we made the Eastern Conference Finals and few things go our way, and then we might have been in the NBA Finals, and we won't talk about game one and stuff. The conference
too painful still, man. It's too painful.
Still, I remember being at the KFTV watch party for that and thinking we got in the back. I remember where I was sitting, the table next to us, one guy was doing a video of like, oh, we got this in the bag, we do, and then his boy was like, nah, just wait. There's still time. Just wait. And then when the minute that video he almost posted it is when everything just unraveled.
See, I don't know who that was at the KFTV watch party, but I'm like, man, you didn't have to do that. Like you didn't have to do that. I'm not saying he's the reason they lost, but he was just putting too many bad vibes. You've been a Knicks fan long enough. Exactly. You gotta know better than that. You've been a New Yorker long enough. You gotta know better. You gotta be easy on that, and just let it rock till the win, till you get the dub, and then you can move on from there.
That's what I'm saying. Like, just wait. We've been through this before. Just wait it out and see. But now we're here. A lot of things have transpired since that game 6 loss to the Pacers. Obviously, Coach Thibodeau was let go, and now we have Mike Brown, and the draft that happened and stuff. So now we here at Summer League with today. They play the Pistons, right? They play the Pistons today.
Pistons first game.
So let's first dive into the draft and some of that. You were on the draft stream with me and on the KFT, and we didn't get to the second round with the Knicks, but they actually selected Kobe Sanders and then traded his rights, and then wound up selecting at 51 and selecting Muhammad Diawara. What did you think was behind that pick? Because I know he's a very intriguing prospect. He's 6'8". We always hear about the 6'8" guys with the crazy wingspans. That's NBA GMs love that archetype, right? Like those guys are always going to get a chance. But there's obviously there's limitations offensively. But what did you feel about that selection? With the Knicks.
Yeah. When that pick was made, and I remember you and we talked about this on the stream. There were some guys we liked for the Knicks in the second round, and all those guys went off the board already.
11. I had guys. I'm like, oh, maybe one of you like 3 of the guys will drop, and boom, that one guy went. And I would say 11 straight guys. I think I remember I'd said 11 straight guys that I thought maybe can drop to 50. All went back to back to back to back to back to back to back. I was like, wow, we might not get anyone where I thought maybe we can get. We'll have the picking of like 3 or 4 guys.
I think when that happened, because I had the same thing. I had my list of 5 or 6 guys, and they all went. And then it told me and I'd heard some stuff about the Knicks liking some of these same guys that we thought. And obviously a lot of teams liked it as well too, like those players as well too. But once that happened, the options were limited. The Knicks weren't gonna. I never thought the Knicks were gonna move up in this draft to go get a guy. I think I'll tie that and why I think that in the terms of this pick with Diawara, I think they said, hey, this is a pick we could take. It's a bit of a project. He's got those things you said you love, Chris, right? Or the GMs love: 6'8", long wingspan, crazy athletic. Now the defense is a huge upside when you talk about him and everybody around him, and you talk to some international scouts. They love the defensive upside that he has. The offense is still a work in progress. But look, I always say that's not a bad place to start with a young player. Mm-hmm. I think with taking him at 51, the Knicks not moving up and being aggressive to maybe get a guy. I think you and I talked about the fact they needed shooting. Would have liked to have seen them add some of that. Mm-hmm. It's not a guy who's going to provide that. I think it's like, okay, this is a guy we can have as a project. Maybe you stash him away for a year or two, develop him, or he's a two-way player. If at best, if he shows out here at Summer League, you can give him one of your two-way spots. Yeah, play him in the G League. He's in your system. You can develop him and bring him along. It's not a bad thing. I think he's a guy. Well, I'm sure we'll get to this. He's a guy that has a lot riding on it for the summer, because does he want to go back to France? Does he want to stay in the system? Mm-hmm. He's tight with Pacome Dadier. He's also tight with Gershon Yabusele. That kind of helps, that French connection there. Can the Knicks keep him in the system? Can he develop? I think it'd be nice if he becomes a two-way player and he's somebody you could use and keep over here and in your system and develop. But it wouldn't shock me if also he's stashed for maybe a year and then the Knicks think about it. Because what I'm saying is basically this move and taking him at 51 and taking someone like him who's a project, it's about cap flexibility. That's really what it comes down to.
We're limited.
Yeah. It really comes down to that. If you hit on him in the future, it's dope. It's great. But it was about keeping the cap flexibility. Knicks didn't want to take on a first-round pick this year that they'd have to pay. That would take up some more money into the cap space they have. I think the Knicks have had a fantastic offseason. I like the two signings they made. I think it's been great. There's still one more they can go. We were just working on a video on that yesterday. About what they could do with that. And so, we'll see. But I think the Diawara pick, it was fine to take a project there. I think it looks better with the signings they've made this offseason so far to fill their roster, where you're like, okay, I'm fine with them taking a flyer on a kid like that. But I will add a caveat to that, Chris. I think that it's imperative that the guys that were drafted last year, all of whom I was high on, 2 of the 3 I wanted the Knicks to get. So, 1 year this year they didn't take anybody that you and I wanted. Last year they took 2 guys I wanted in Kolek and Dadier. We'll see. We'll see. I think it's imperative those guys develop and show out in some way at Summer League, and so we'll get more into that.
Yeah, and I think the Diawara thing is interesting, because I know, like we mentioned, we could have maybe the Knicks probably could have used some more shooting, but like at that spot we just mentioned, a lot of these guys were gone, especially like Kobe Bray was like the guy, like maybe possibly could fall, but he wound up. I think he went to Golden State too, of all teams. So
they need more shooting.
Exactly, right. The rich get richer with that. So but I think another thing that I think the Knicks needed to upgrade was just the athleticism. Like, I just think they needed to get more athletic at especially in the backup position, coming off the bench. So I think, and with him, and then like picking up a guy like Dink Pay too, who like I had him as a top 58, I'm like 58, 59 on my board. Like, I thought I saw a lot of, and then I got a lot more intel about him and got to, people started talking about him more, like his work ethic. Like, he wants to work. Like the splits aren't going to excite you at all. You're going to see especially his first year with the Ignite. Like, and we know the Ignite's not even a thing anymore. He shot in the 34%. And then, when he got to Mexico City the next year, the numbers got up. Weird situation too down there, playing in Mexico City, that was there was a lot of things happening over there too. So, but he's another guy who has tremendous, I think, a top 20 type of talent, and you got him as an undrafted guy, and he's an athletic freak too. He had bounce.
He's the guy on this roster for me, the Summer League roster, that I probably am most intrigued to watch.
And I'm going to ask you that next. Who's most intrigued?
Yeah, it's him, because if I was looking at a lot of video on him and in playing with Mexico City, the Capitana. It's Capitanes, right? Capitanes.
Yeah.
Very explosive player, good first step, excellent athleticism, can yam it on, he's great in the open court, a fantastic open court player. As you said, Chris, the splits are not going to wow anybody. He shot 24% from downtown last year. That's not gonna get it done. That's the key for him. Can he become a better shooter? Can his shot selection become a little bit better in terms of picking his spots? I'm really intrigued, but see, Summer League might be the kind of place for him, a guy like him, to show out, because if he can play well defensively, which he's okay. He's not amazing, but he's okay. Get into some pass lanes, get some steals, get in the open court, show off that athleticism. I think Knicks fans are going to get really hyped about that and see that. And sometimes with a guy like him, you wonder if Summer League's a place he can show out, or will he try to do too much? That's the other part of it too, right? Like, does he try to do too much? But I think, he's probably one of the more interesting guys, I would say, in terms of, because he's undrafted, that the Knicks haven't drafted. Because, I'll say, yes, I want to see what Dadier can do. I want to see what Kola can do. I want to see what Kevin McCullough Jr. can do with his opportunity. There's a lot, but those guys are a little bit more secure in their spot and where they are. It's just about, can they get playing time next year? A guy like Dink Pate, can you play yourself into a two-way contract? I mean, I think him and Diawara are very interesting. And Dink Pate, for all the stuff you just said doing your intel, people say the kid is hungry. He's a gym rat. He just is going to keep working. So I think he knows this is a big opportunity. I'm really watching him and how many minutes he gets when he comes in off the bench. But I think for guys like him, it's going to be with defense. It's going to be with showing what you can do when you get the ball, the efficiency. He's the guy. I think I'll put him, James Najee, and Diawara as the guys with maybe the most to prove that don't have the security that a Dadier or Kolek does. I think it's the moment's bigger for Dadier and Kolek because they need to show where their games have improved. But for the guys that are trying to make it or get an NBA opportunity, just get to the G League. Yeah, Dink Pate's the one guy I got my eye on, man. Like, I'm really intrigued to see, because I do think a lot of people had him mocked as a second-round pick. I saw him anywhere between 35 to 50-ish, and for Knicks to get him undrafted and jump, even when they jumped on him and they signed him, I was like, oh, okay, that could be interesting. The Knicks might have found something there. We'll see. If he plays well and the Knicks think he's somebody that could get into the system, get him in Westchester and develop him, that's good. You have to look in today's salary cap with the aprons. You got to find these steals where you can. You got to find the value where you can. So it's huge for Dink Pate. He's a guy I'm definitely got my eye on for sure.
Yeah, and that's why I was so, like, a lot of people were like, oh, why are you so excited about an undrafted guy? I was like, because if he hits, like, and I know there's a lot of factors that go into it, right? There's the efficiency, there's, just the decision making and stuff. But if he hits, you can it's like getting a first round talent as an undrafted guy. And like you said, with the way our roster constructed, with all the apron stuff, we gotta try to hit on some of these second round picks that we've taken in the last few years, or undrafted guys we've taken in the last few years. So if it hits, like he like I mentioned before, he was a top 15 to 20 talent alone in this draft, like just the pure talent. And if you can unlock that, and like I said, I think we can. Look what we have now installed. Like, I think we can get the best out of him. And like I said, he wants it too. He's not one of these kids that just no, he wants it. So I think if he can hit, we could get something special. But let's talk about some of those guys we drafted last year. Last year, I loved their second round. I absolutely loved their second round. A lot of those second round guys I thought were first round caliber talent, starting with Tyler Kolek. Like, if you had flipped Kolek with Bacombe, like, I wasn't crazy about Bacombe, but when we selected Kyler, I was like, all right, I'm cool. If you would have flipped it, I would have been even more ecstatic. But then, to get everyone else to get Huck as late as we got, he's been in the draft scene for a year. I've been hearing about him since like COVID year, 2020 with Huck. So, and then when McCullers too, like, he improved as a shooter, dealt with the injury. That's probably why he dropped. But a lot of these second round guys are going to be very important pieces for this Knicks team. So how important is it though for these guys, in your opinion, for these guys to show us? I know Summer League, we can overreact. Cooper Flag 6 of 37, it felt like yesterday, and people are already talking. We remember Wemby when he had the bad game.
Right.
People are going to overreact. So, but like, what do we need to see to kind of feel good going forward? Because like I said, we are limited cap space. We can't do much.
Right. Okay. So I'll go with this. Like, I think for all the guys they drafted last year, I'm gonna start with Huck Porty here, even though he was the last of the guys drafted. I think for him, what I'd like to see is, I'm very intrigued through the first 2 games, is that can he set screens, roll well, operate a little bit in the high post as a passer, which is something I think the Knicks are very high on him with, and how does he develop that? I was very impressed with him last year when I watched him up close for 2 games at Summer League. I thought him and Kolek had great pick and roll chemistry. I loved how he set screens. I thought he was rebounded. I thought he was tough. I think he should I expect him to dominate on the boards. You are now a year 2 player. This is your second time in Summer League. You have an advantage over all these rookies or guys who are not going to play in the league. You should be dominating on the board, setting good screens, rolling well, playing well with Kolek, making good passes out of the high post. That's what I want to see from Huck Porty.
Mm-hmm.
Kolek, we know how good of a playmaker he is.
Yes.
He's an elite passer already. I don't use the word elite very loosely.
Oh, you're right.
But he is that. I think a fantastic playmaker is going to find guys, great court vision. Last year, Summer League showed me the sense. I was like, oh, this guy can run a team. And then you saw it even when he's played at the NBA level. He played the most minutes out of all the rookies last year. I believe it was 296. He played in terms of minutes out of the rookies last year. For me, though, the questions are 2 things. One, how does he defend? Now, you can't take too much out of Summer League with the defense, but you want to see some improvement on the defensive end. And then the other thing is the shooting. I think he's got to be more aggressive in finding a shot. That's what I'm looking for him in Summer League. And so, this is Summer League. It's not your game, but I need to see that you can pick your spots and get some buckets. So if Kolek's a bit more aggressive in finding a shot in Summer League and is taking some more shots, that's what I want to see. We know you can pass. We know you can run the team.
Oh, yeah.
We've seen that before. Show me what you could do in being aggressive. Can you get to the basket? Is your 3-point shot better? Pulling up. That's what we need to see. You see that from Kolek, especially with the shot. If the shot's improved, that's going to be huge for him in terms of getting playing time, because the 100%. Knicks reportedly, with the last spot they could have to sign a player to the veterans minimum, my colleague Stephen Bondi has said they're looking at another ball handler. I find that interesting. What does that do for Tyler Kolek's development? Mm-hmm. I think the Knicks are going to be watching to see how he's developed. So big eyes on him. As far as Dadier goes, Dadier last year when I watched him in Summer League, I remember his first 2 games. He struggled a little bit with a shot, particularly in his first game. Struggled a little bit with a shot. He can shoot. He's got a nice touch. I think the Knicks want him to be a 3-and-D player. Yeah. The defense was good. The Knicks were very high on him from people I talked to around the team last year in training camp. They were impressed with him and how he worked. I think you even saw some moments where he played some good defense coming in last year. Mm-hmm. Can he shoot the ball well? He was a first-round pick. I want to see him dominating spots. I want to see him be aggressive with a shot. I want to see him shoot the ball well. I want to see him play high-level defense in the spurts that he's in there. He's a player. Him and Kolek on the offensive end, I'm looking to see you guys. You guys should be dominating. You guys should be getting to your spots. You should be scoring. You should be taking efficient shots. You guys should be a step ahead. So for him, it's about being aggressive and dominating. For Kevin McCullough Jr., I think it's just about seeing you get reps and get comfortable. And look, he's got an outside shot at locking down a roster spot. Mm-hmm. But can you get a 2-way spot? Can the Knicks further say they want to further develop you? So is your shot selection good? Are you playing within the system of what Summer League is? Because that's the thing about Summer League. Everybody's the guys who are secure, but the guys that are trying to get theirs, trying to get theirs. Sometimes you might see some bad shot selection. You don't want to see Kevin McCullough Jr. in there, but I think there's a world in which Kevin McCullough Jr., with his size, with his scoring ability, we saw the shot selection improve for him. His shooting just improved overall through his 4 years of college. Obviously, the injury hurt him in his last year at Kansas, but he's a guy who has a tremendous amount of talent. And if he can play well, he can open up some eyes, and the Knicks could say they can do it. But I think our last thing I'll say is Dadier and Kolek, and Hawk Purdy, because there's a way they all could possibly get minutes, particularly Hawk Purdy. If Mike Brown decides to go with a double big lineup, the Knicks are going to be looking to see, hey, are you the backup center we can trust? Do we need to go get another backup big? And then for Dadier, you should be that big wing off the bench that the Knicks needed last year. Can we trust you to play 10 to 12 minutes a night? That's what he's got to show, that he can be trusted to play 10 to 12 minutes a night. I think for those two guys is huge. Kolek, we know what he can do. It's just about are the Knicks fine with him being the third ball handler on this team and how they can play him. I would like to see, in a good world, I'd like to see these kids have a good summer league. I'd like to see them play next year. I think it's important that at least two of them play some rotation minutes next year to help their development and help the Knicks lengthen out their rotation. But we'll see. That's what I'm looking for each of those guys from last year.
Yeah, and I'll go to Kolek because I think he's. I know Capone was the first round pick. And I know people are, want him to, especially needing, a backup wing. But I think Kolek is the most important out of the whole bunch.
Oh, I like this. Okay.
I think the minutes when JB is off, I think are very crucial. And we saw it in playoff time that when he was out, it was tough, it was tough sledding at times. So I think Kolek is the most important player. And like you mentioned, they're monitoring other, lead guards. I think their main focus is, can we trust him? We need to see him, like you said, I mentioned the playmaking is there. We saw it in college, right? He was, led the Big East twice in assist, led the country in assists his last year, senior year in college. That's why they took him, right? They took him so high. But they need to see him, like you mentioned, like even in the G League, like he averaged like 18 and 10, but shot, I think, below 40%, on 28% from three. So like, if he can show any type of improvement as far as getting to his spots, because we know the strength is another thing too. He needs to be able to get to his spots to feel comfortable with at least maybe developing a little mid-range game or a little floater game, kind of like JB. If he can develop that, I think that will make the Knicks feel comfortable that, okay, we can feel comfortable when we need Brunson to come off, and get a few minutes rest. We feel comfortable with Kolek, operating, playing 8 to 10, 8, 10, 15 minutes. I think he's the most important. I know Dadier, the first, I know everyone else, but I think Kolek is the most important. I think they are focused. We need to make if he shows improvement with the shot, we know everything. The playmaking is going to be there because he's going to have horses next step. But then the transition game should be good with Najee and Diawara and Dink Pay. Like he's going to be able to. You're going to see a lot of lobs. We're going to see a lot of that. But can the shot be consistent and can he get to his spots? Because if he's just going to get pressed or they're going to be getting on him and he can't get to his spots, then the playmaking is irrelevant.
I agree.
Can't get to his spots.
I agree with the point you're making too. Just because if you and by you I mean the Knicks front office, if you come out of this summer league and you like, man, Kolek's made a leap in his game, like especially with the shooting, then you might say, we don't need to we don't need to add another ball handler. Maybe we spend that money and put it towards another big. Maybe we do that just to shore something up. Maybe we go give the $3 million to, I'm just going to throw a name out. We talked about this yesterday on my show, Thomas Bryant. We do. What's up, Ron? Knicks family from Still Knicks fans. Appreciate you. Yeah, I think there's a way. I see why you're saying it's the most important, because I know Knicks fans will say, okay, well, you got Jordan Clarkson, and it's still unclear what we will do, what the Knicks will do in the starting lineup. But if you know what you have in Kolek and you feel like the shot's improved, that's huge. I love that you mentioned strength too, Chris. That's another thing. I think one of the most important things you can do offensively in the league now is like, can you get to your spots? That's the biggest thing. I look in players. I think sometimes people get wowed by athleticism in the league, and I like guys, can you get to your spot? Can you get your shot off? Can you get to the spot and know what you need to do? I mean, this is what makes Brunson such a great player. He's not the most athletic player. He's not the fastest player. He's strong, and he knows how to get to his spots, and he's crafty. His footwork is fantastic. That's something I love. So if Kolek answers a major question, because if you know what you're getting in him, especially the shots improved, his defense improves just a smidge, a little bit, you could trust him some more. And then that gives you some more options of what you might want to do with that last veterans minimum spot. Maybe you don't sign somebody from the season. Maybe you leave that spot open to give yourself a little bit more flexibility. So there's a way in which he's the most important. I think in a perfect world, him and Dadier show you good stuff and you feel really good about them heading into the season. Again, I say all this with, you want to see them dominate, but it is Summer League, guys. If Dadier shoots, 6 for 25 in the first 2 games, it doesn't mean it's curtains for him, right? Like, I'm not going to go that far. If Kolek struggles in the first couple games with a shot, it doesn't mean it. I think a lot can be changed between now and the start of training camp and how they come into training camp and what they tweak on their game. So we'll see. But I'll tell you what, it will be a nice sign if they dominate, though. It'd be nice to see that. Yeah,
exactly. And I always say that with Summer League, like, you don't want to overreact too, but you do want to see them dominate. Like,
yes,
year 2, those guys should take another tick. Like, we don't expect them to go crazy, but you should see, like, all right, they look like they belong. Like they look good, they're comfortable. So is there anyone else on the Summer League roster that you're kind of intrigued about? I know, like, we're bringing back Marjo Beauchamp, who was a former first-round pick from the Bucks a few years back. There's a couple of intriguing guys. There's Lance Ware. I don't know if people remember him from Kentucky.
Yep.
Like, wasn't getting minutes. Then I think I forgot, transferred to Villanova, and then he played at I think something Arlington and got minutes. So he's someone that people might be familiar with. Is there anyone that you're kind of intrigued that, like, I'm gonna check on him and see?
I'm actually glad you mentioned Beauchamp, because I actually almost forgot he was on the roster. And this is a very interesting time for him.
Yes, very. He's already been on, like, this is like his third or fourth team. Yeah, like, and his development has been really messed up, I think, since G League.
See, that's the thing, though, Chris, and you're somebody who looks at this at a very high level, deeper than even I do. And I think you would agree that so much of this stuff with young players, like my friend Gerard Hector for True Hoop always likes to say this, and he's right. You can find talent anywhere. But are they going to fit? Do you have a plan for these young men, and are they going to fit with what you want to do? And do you have a track record of success and development? One thing you can say with the Knicks is you've seen them develop late first-round picks and second-round picks. I don't think the Knicks get enough credit for that sometimes. I've said this, Mitchell Robinson, I know he was almost a first pick in the second round. Miles McBride, those are great development stories. We can look at Quentin Grimes. I know it didn't pan out and he ended up getting traded, but Quentin Grimes was a solid player,
Quickly, late first round pick.
Yeah, quickly a late first round pick. So the Knicks have done this before. It's why I'm encouraged about Hawk Porty. And we've seen what the Knicks have done with a lot of big men that they like. And I'm somebody who thinks Hawk Porty could be a big man for them. Maybe they're big men of the future going down the road. But for Beauchamp, you look at him in Milwaukee, and I think there was a lot of thought he could be a 3-and-D player that could fit next to Giannis. That was the kind of word on him coming out, and that hasn't happened. And now he's in a situation where he's on this Knicks Summer League team, Chris, and there's so many other guys who are, I think, more focal points of the Knicks system right now. Excuse me, that Beauchamp really is going to have to show out. But this is the sink or swim time. What I mean is, are you going to be in the league, which he's literally fighting for his life to stay in the league, or are you going to have to go play in Europe or the G League? Like, this is a real turning point for Beauchamp, and I don't know if on this Knicks Summer League roster that he's going to have the opportunities to showcase as much as you would like to see with him. But he's a guy that's kind of like in that Dink Pate, right? Diarra place where if you're hungry enough and you take this opportunity, the Knicks might say, all right, let's keep Marjon Beauchamp. He was with us last year towards the end of the season. We saw him. We already know what he's like. If you see some improvement with him, I think for him it's also the shooting.
The shooting.
100%. Because he's got the tools to be a good defender and has the athleticism. Can he consistently knock the shot from the outside? Because right now, if you're playing against Marjon Beauchamp in the NBA, are you putting a hand up? That's always my like line of, do you respect somebody's shot or not?
Yep.
Right? Like, are you even putting a hand up? Because when
Exactly.
you're shooting below 30%, someone's like, I'll take it. It's
Mhm.
fine. You're well below league average. So I'm not even gonna, on a closeout, I might just walk up to you. I'm not even gonna put my hand up.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think he's intriguing. I literally forgot he was on the team. I really did. I'm scrolling through the rest of the roster as we're here. I think Luka Skuka also is another
He's intriguing.
intriguing prospect because of his height and skill set and maybe what he could do from the outside. I think, thing that you're gonna look for is how can he defend, especially in pick and roll situations. That's going to be very interesting. So, I don't really think there's that much here. Maybe if there was Rokas Jokubaitis was still on this team, but he wasn't coming back.
No.
What are you done? Because I always see some Knicks fans who have commented on some video stuff done in the past. Like, where's Rokas? You're out. You're done.
I'm out.
I don't
He
think
said a bunch of times that he's not interested, and I'm just like, all right, it's been what 3-4. It's all right. I'm over it. Like, it's I'm over it this time.
I spoke to somebody who would be in the know in that like international world, and they said to me, especially after his comments too that you're referring to, with his agent stuff, it's probably not happening. And what the person mentioned to me was a lot of it is financial, because for those guys that are playing in the Euro League, they would lose money, and for their agents to come and play for the veterans minimum. Let's say Rokas Jokubaitis could come and play.
Wouldn't he have to buy out his contract?
That too. And so with that whole process, and I was kind of going around without saying all that, but with that whole process of having to buy him out and then do that, he literally, in this position he's in, could make more money playing for his EuroLeague team than he would coming to the NBA right now. And so I think he also has made the comments that he feels like he's shown enough. I would disagree. But
he's very high of himself.
I was high on him and I liked certain things about his game.
Mm-hmm.
But last year when I watched him in Summer League and actually did talk to him too, I was like, you haven't really established yourself out there in a way that impressed me. Like when I saw Tyler Kolek run the team, I was impressed. When I saw him, I was just like, he just felt like another dude out there. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think that's happening. But yeah, there's not a guy I think on this team that on this roster, I would say I do like that you brought up Beauchamp. But I'd say, I still think Dink Pate high on my list of watching here, along with Kevin McCullough Jr., James Najee, and Diawara. Those are the guys. Those are like the hungry guys. So how are they going to take this opportunity that I'm intrigued to see?
Yeah, that's why I'm looking forward to a lot. And with Beauchamp, very talented kid, but I think with him, he needs just to figure out that shot, because I think that's, if he's going to stay in the league, he has to figure out the shot. And so because there's moments where he can shoots the ball, it's just the inconsistency. If he can pat that down, maybe he has a shot to be in the league. But like you said, he's on his last lifeline in the NBA. Like, and it's crazy because we have so much talent coming in that even at 24. That could be it, especially you're on team 4 already, 3-4 teams already in just a short amount of time, so he has an opportunity to show out. Even if it's not for the Knicks, it's for someone else. So we'll see what happens to him. But obviously, Tom Thibodeau no longer the coach of the New York Knicks, and we brought in Mike Brown. And I know it wasn't a sexy hire for some people because he's been on a few teams, and I know a lot of people don't like the retreads with the coaches, but I like the hire. I like what he brings offensively too. Like a lot of the sets he runs, a lot of the high pinch post he does with his bigs, a lot of the motion. He's getting guys are cutting, guys are screening, guys like the open shots he's going to be able to create for our wings, and he and just flat out, he runs an offense. We didn't really see that, a lot. He just runs an offense. So we're going to see actual plays designed and guys getting open, being creative instead of just like, the typical, high pick and roll with Brunson and him just, doing his thing, which is good. But sometimes I think, when you want to advance, you got to be a little bit more creative offensively, and I think that's what he's going to bring. So what was your thoughts on the Mike Brown hire? And also, do you think we'll see any, kind of installs with the summer league team with some of his offense, or do you think that's just they'll just do whatever, run whatever?
Yeah, I think you might see a couple things. I'm hoping for that. I think it'd be good for the young players to kind of know what they'll see. So I'm very intrigued to see how this offense works. You and I think, feel very much the same way about this hire. And I don't know how you felt about the firing of Tom Thibodeau. I thought it was the right time because
I was
of
same boat.
Yeah, because I think the Knicks made a move that was really risky, but you have to take risks to get where you want to go. I'm a big believer in that. You got to take risks.
So you got to take
pivots. The safe thing would have been to say, hey, this guy took us as the furthest we've been in 25 years. We got to run this back. And they looked at it and said, hey, there are some limitations. I think one of the major limitations that they felt with Tom Thibodeau was, and you've heard some of this come out through the media and other stuff, is just his ability to be collaborative, his ability to be malleable or adaptable. And I think the thing that you put that I think, is one of my critiques of Tibbs when you watch this Knicks team and cover this Knicks team is the offense was just unimaginative. And Mike Brown is a coach who came in as a defensive coach. I generally love coaches from the pop coaching tree. So I will say that one, generally do. Came as a defensive coach, but I think his time he spent in Golden State was huge. Yeah. Because it expanded his offensive knowledge. He learned, he absorbed from there. You saw what he did with the Kings. They had a top 10 offense his first 2 seasons there. Turned that around. I think he'll do wonders for the Knicks. I think the Knicks offense is going to look better. I think it's going to be more free-flowing. I think you're going to see more action for Jalen Brunson off the ball, which I think is good for him in his career. Yes. I don't think it's going to be as heliocentric. I think that's also good for the Knicks. I think the job of the next coach was to maximize this roster, maximize its roster offensively. The Knicks were a top 5 offense last year, but they were not a good offense after January 1st. Some of that is the schedule got a little harder. Some of that you can also account for the fact that Jalen Brunson basically missed a month. But they were not a good offense, and he never hit the highs they could. I think Mike Brown's going to maximize his offense. I think it's going to be way more imaginative. I think that's what excites me the most. Now, how he's able to protect his 2 best offensive players, who are the Knicks' 2 weakest defensive players, that's going to be the challenge here. Mike Brown has a lot of pressure on him. I agree with you. This was not a sexy hire, but I do think it was the right hire. I do. Because who cares if the hiring is sexy if you win? No, at the end of the day, nobody cares. And I would also argue, who do you think that was better? And we did a show the other day, a live show after the press conference, and somebody said, I didn't like Mike Brown. I said to the person, hey, well, who would you have wanted was better in the comments? And the person said Taylor Jenkins. And I was like, okay, fine. If you think Taylor Jenkins could have been a better fit than Mike Brown, I'm not going to argue on that. That's fine. But I don't think there's a clear-cut guy that was out there that you were like, man, the Knicks missed out on him. The Knicks got clowned by some people for going for the head coaches that were under contract, and I didn't understand why people were clowning that. Like, why would you not do that? Why that's due diligence in hiring. This happens all the time in hiring. Why would you not do that?
Exactly.
So for me, Mike Brown, I know this because I also did a show after the Thibodeau firing, and I had Sean from Knicks Film School on with me, and we went through these candidates, and he had his 5 and I had my 5, and Mike Brown was one of mine. And when I said Mike Brown, Sean was like, I don't know if I like that. But then I started rattling off his resume and what he's done and how he's coached in some pressure situations, coaching LeBron, coaching Kobe, and his experience. And he was kind of like, you know what? He kind of came around on it. Was like, yeah, you know what, Dex? I actually see him as a viable candidate. And I think people look at him and be like, he's been fired 4 times. Well, everybody gets fired.
That's the number one thing, Dex, is the firings. Yeah. I think that's what gets people like, and I'm not crazy about it because he's been fired a couple times.
I mean, who got fired a lot of times and ended up winning a championship? Larry Brown, another Brown. So I mean, like, there's good coaches have been fired plenty of times.
Tibbs.
Don Nelson has one of the most winningest coaches fired. Lenny Wilkins. like that doesn't bother me as much.
Yeah.
I think he got fired. You got to look at why someone got fired. Like, I'm a big, if we're going to talk about something, let's talk about it with nuance.
Exactly.
He got fired the first time in Cleveland because they wanted to appease LeBron and thought they could get a better coach, and they did not. And LeBron left anyway. He got fired in LA because sounds like a little bit they were impatient with that team. That was probably not as well constructed as they should be. Yeah. The second time in Cleveland, another thing, hoping to get him LeBron back a little bit. Part of that, he got a raw deal there, and in Sacramento, he absolutely got a raw deal. 100%. Absolutely got a raw deal. De'Aaron Fox wanted him as his head coach. Once that happened, De'Aaron Fox was out. That tells you all you need to know. That's poor management, right? Like that's all you need to know. It's not like Mike Brown. Nobody's ever said anything that Mike Brown has been bad at coaching in this stuff. The X and O's were bad. His relationships with people were bad. This is not what you hear. So, yeah, I like Mike Brown. I think Mike Brown is fine as a coach. I do think he's got a lot of pressure on him, though, Chris. A lot of pressure. But I'll say what I said on my show the other day. If you're a Knicks fan, this is what you wanted. Do you remember what it was like 5 years ago, 6 years ago? You want this pressure. Chris is like, I remember. You want this pressure, right? And I don't think it's a bad thing. And I think Mike Brown's a good coach. I think he's the right kind of coach to maximize his roster and elevate them offensively. Yeah. And also another thing I'll also add for the Minutes Police out there, excuse me, he'll also play, he'll play deep. And I think you have to play. You cannot play 7-8 deep and get through the playoffs in today's NBA. You can't do that. The league's too talented. You got to look at the teams that were in the finals. Indiana played 9 to 10 deep. Oklahoma City played 9 to 10 deep. You got to play deeper. I think he will. I think the Knicks have more versatility on this roster. I think he'll be fine. I really do think Mike Brown will be fine. I'm not going to go out here and say he's going to win the Knicks a championship. I'm not going to say that. But I think he'll be fine. The true test is going to come in the playoffs, and we'll see how the Knicks elevate through the regular season into the playoffs and what Mike Brown has to do with that. So we'll see what Brown can do for you.
Yeah, we'll definitely see what Brown could do for us. I think he was out of all the options. I think he was, Taylor Jenkins was interesting. Some of the assistant coaches were interesting, but I think like I said, the resume is there. If you get past the firings, and like I said, everything has context to it. You have to understand the context. Then you'd be like, okay, you get all that out of your mind, like you mentioned before when you did your show with and you got him to finally like, you know what? If I get past the firings, it's actually all right. This actually might work. So, and like I said, he feels enthusiastic. He's going to bring energy in practice. He's going to practice. He's going to do stuff like that. He's going to get into hold guys accountable. So I think there's something a lot to be excited about. And just like I said, he's going to expand the roster essentially. He's going to use 9-10 deep, so it's going to be exciting. But we only have a couple guys that we signed in free agency. They couldn't do much. So they signed Jordan Clarkson, who was let go from the Utah Jazz, signed him, and then we signed Yabusele. Got him. He took a little bit less, so we can maybe get another guy coming in. So how did you feel about those two signings for the Knicks?
I loved it, man. I really did. First of all, if you'd have told me the Knicks could have got Clarkson and they didn't have to trade for him, which is the thing. I didn't think he'd get bought out from Utah. But Utah is clearly trying to they're actually really just trying to be bad next year.
It's disgusting what they're doing. I can't stand what they're doing. I really can't stand what Utah's doing.
Yeah, they're really trying to do it. I think the next drop for them is, are they going to move marketing? But that's a whole nother story. I like Clarkson. He's a guy I wouldn't have minded the Knicks targeting at the deadline. So to get him for the veterans minimum, I think is a steal. Clarkson, was won Sixth Man of the Year before. He's a volume scorer. He can give them some, instant offense off the bench. And Nick, I see your question. I will answer that. Get some instant offense off the bench. I think what people have to realize with Clarkson is he's a really good scorer in the half court. And that's something the Knicks needed off the bench that they didn't have. I mean, if you go back, and I'll tell people, look through box scores of the Knicks bench output through the playoffs. And it was sad. They're averaging 16.5 points off the bench through the postseason run. That's not going to get it done. Clarkson averaged 16 off the bench by himself last year.
Exactly.
Utah. Now,
Yeah,
granted,
more than our whole bench.
right now, granted, he was on a bad Utah team, but he's very efficient in the half court. He's in like the 97, 98th percentile in half court scoring according to Basketball Index. He's a really good player. Yes, he can become trigger happy at times. Yes, he can get up a volume of threes, but the Knicks kind of needed that. The Knicks didn't have, once they lost Dante DiVincenzo in a trade for Cat, they really didn't get up as much threes as you like to. That's something I think the Knicks can do better at next year. He can hit above the break threes, something else the Knicks struggled in. And then that brings me to Gershon Yabusele, who also succeeds very well in that. Good at hitting above the break threes, also can hit the corner three, stretches the floor, gives you some toughness inside. I love the Yabusele signing. He was very high on my list of players that I wanted to see the Knicks use the TMLE, tax mid-level exception that they could use on him. He was high on my list. The Knicks got him. I think he's a great fit for the Knicks. So I love what the Knicks did with the limited cap space they had in this summer. Now, Nick asked, who just posted a question, will they sign any other free agents? And according to my colleague, beat reporter for the Knicks, is Stephen Bondi, he said the Knicks are interested in signing somebody else. They can sign somebody else to the veterans minimum. And Steph had wrote an article that came out yesterday, which he listed a bunch of players that they could. Chris Paul, he added for fun, but he also had Ben Simmons, which I found interesting, Malcolm Brogdon, Marcus Smart, which would have to happen when Marcus Smart being bought out from the Wizards, and Landry Shamet was another name he had added to, could be bringing back Shamet. And if people want to check something out, New York Post, myself and Brian Fonseca, we took those 5 players and then we came up with another 5 and talked about where they fit in tiers of who the Knicks could sign. So I think if the Knicks add another ball handler, but it could be interesting. And that's what Steph has reported, that their interest lies in that. But I wonder how much of that ties into what you said, Chris. If they see goodness out of Kolek here in Summer League, does that maybe say, do they want to pivot someplace else? So I do think the Knicks are going to sign somebody else. I think there's a possibility they could chill and just wait and see how things play out a little bit after Summer League. There's still some free agents that are out there that haven't been signed. The market has been set. Jonathan Kuminga is still yet to be signed. There's some other good free agents that are still looking for the TMLE, but there's not a lot of room out there. So it's very interesting. Yeah, the Knicks could get somebody really valuable on the cheap. They get a Malcolm Brogdon with the veterans minimum. Yeah, they could. Could Marcus Smart sign for the veterans? Sure. Those are guys that could sign. Shamet obviously would take that. There's not a lot of money out there. So it could be valuable. The Knicks could also say at the end of summer, hey, we like what we've seen out of Kolek. We're going to chill and we'll see how the season plays. And if we need to sign somebody to open roster spot during the season, we can. And we might play it that way. But all indication is they'll probably will sign somebody else to that. It could be somebody that they really like that plays well here in Summer League. That could happen. So there's a bunch of options for them to do that. But yeah, the reporting from Stephen Bondi is they will sign another free agent with the veterans minimum, and they are targeting another ball handler. Now, I do think whoever signs that, I will just add this note, is going to have to understand that they're probably not going to get a lot of minutes if you sign in that role. So you got to understand what the role is. You're going to be a 9th or 10th man, most likely a 10th man here. You're probably going to play sometimes, probably not. So I think the person has to be comfortable. The veteran has to be comfortable in that role, or a young player just looking for an opportunity. So I do think the Knicks will use that because they're hard capped at the second apron.
Yeah.
So it's like, why not use it and try to add some more talent just for depth purposes if you can?
Yeah. And that was my thinking of that last roster spot is they might just bring someone in and just for insurance, just in case, like regardless of how Kolek does, whether he does really good or does really bad, they might just bring someone in just to bring them in just for insurance and just be straight up like, hey, you might play, you might not play. And if you're comfortable with that, knowing that there's some uncertainty with that, then we'd love to have you. I think that last roster spot is what you probably want that guy to be, is having an understanding like, hey, you might get some run, you might not. But, if they but before I let you go, Dex, and this has been a great show.
Yes, sir.
This, we got a new coach. Summer League's about to kick off today. What is your feeling overall about this New York Knicks team getting ready for the 25-26 season? There's a lot of things transpired. The Pacers, who were just in the finals, they're a completely different team than one that we were just a few weeks ago. There's a lot of, obviously Boston Celtics, we saw what happened with Tatum. They've traded KP, they traded, Drew Holiday. So the East looks a lot different than it just did, just a few months ago. So what is your overall feeling heading towards the 25-26 season for this New York Knicks team?
My overall feeling is it's good. This is as excited as Knicks fans should feel in a long time. They are currently the betting favorites to win the East. Now, that doesn't always happen, and maybe you don't want that pressure. Maybe you'd rather be under the radar, but this is a great opportunity for the Knicks. To me, there's no reason the Knicks can't win the East. I think it's them in Cleveland, and I think it's a drop-off to some other teams. I do think Atlanta's improved. I do think Detroit, I'm not sure how much they improved.
I don't like their off season, but maybe Jaden Ivey coming back and Stewart coming back. Maybe that's what they're banking on.
I think that's the thing, but their offseason was totally screwed by Malik Beasley. The Beasley stuff screws them.
Yeah, big time.
That's tough, I know they got Duncan Robinson, but I'm not sure about him defensively and how he plays. And I think the Knicks are actually better suited to not struggle with them as much as they did last year, because now they have a little bit more explosiveness off the bench, and they probably are going to play deeper. I thought the Knicks played into Detroit's hands in the playoffs last year by playing shorter rotations, but that's a whole nother story. I think Knicks fans should feel good. I really do. I think they should feel good that they're the front office. They put pressure by saying they believe they have a championship team, but I have no problem with that. This is what you should want your front office to say if they believe it and they're going for it. This is what you should want. I'm excited to watch this season and cover this season and talk more about this team this season, because it's really about what's the evolution of this team. Yeah. I think the trajectory has been good. The front office has made some good moves. I think you could see it. I kept saying this last year, and people who watch me know I've been saying this. I said the Knicks are likely a better team this coming season than they were last coming season. I thought there was so much change last year. Now they're adding some pieces that I think are nice and complimentary. And they're changing coach, which might be the biggest move that they made all offseason and might be the thing that really works for them. Sometimes you need a coach. It's not sexy, but you got to see if that coach can get you to the next place. So I don't remember who it is, but I don't want to take credit for this, but somebody made the comparison to the Yankees in 1995, going from Buck Showalter, a very popular manager, and then going to Joe Torre, who was not saying this to Mike Brown, that he's an unknown, but it wasn't a sexy move. A lot of people thought it wasn't going to work. And then Joe Torre won 4 world championships. I'm not saying that Mike Brown is going to bring the Knicks 4 titles, although I'm sure that'll be dope for the Knicks fans out there.
We'll just take one at this point.
I'm sure the Knicks fans will. But maybe sometimes I think you have to recognize when somebody is better suited to maximize a roster than where they are. And I thought the Knicks are identified that, and we'll see if they're right. They could be wrong. I don't know. I can't sit here and tell you. But what I could tell you is they're not complacent, and I like that around an organization. They weren't complacent with that. There's a standard, and they won. I think you can see a better Mikal Bridges in year 2. I think you saw him get a little bit more comfortable as he went through the playoffs. I think you can see a better Cat in year 2. And sometimes you need a little internal development. You need a little bit of people you're bringing in from the outside, whether it's coaches and players, and that can work. So I think Knicks fans should be excited about next season. I don't want to hear that there's a pressure, and and the reason I don't want to hear that is what do you want? Do you want the opposite? Do you want what it was when you had 17 wins 60 years ago? You don't want that.
Yeah,
you want to have the championship pressure. I do think it's a finals or bust year for the Knicks. I do. I think if the Knicks don't make, they were 2 wins away from the conference final, from the NBA finals, excuse me. If they don't make the finals, it's going to be a disappointment. And I understand that. And I think with the talent, with the state of the East, I don't think that's unfair. I don't think it's unfair. We're just the season's going to be about, will they rise to that? It's really not the season. It's going to come to the playoffs. It's really going to come to the playoffs. Are the Knicks healthy? Are they ready by the playoffs? Have they figured things out? Have they learned under this coach? Are they growing? I think if the team is growing and they are playing their best basketball to the playoffs, I think it'll be fine. I think this team has the talent to win 55 to 60 games next year. We'll see. That's the thing. I'm excited for the year, man. It's going to be fun.
Oh yeah, I'm excited. And like you mentioned before, like the fact that they're like, okay, this isn't good enough. Like we feel like we can be. We probably should have made the finals this year. So they pivot, and we've seen this in recent, kind of recent within the last 10 years with Mark Jackson to Steve Kerr, and Dwayne Casey was the coach of the year to Nick Nurse. So we've seen this. Like teams just don't stay put because he was a coach of the year, or this guy helped us win 50 games. Like no, we feel like if we keep this coach around, we're capped out. We feel like there's more to it, and the Knicks felt that way. Like, okay, yeah, Tibbs, we appreciate everything you've done. We were terrible. We were the laughingstock of the NBA, and you made us respectable. You made us get talked about in positive ways, not just negative ways. So we respect that, but we feel like there's a ceiling and we need to pivot because we have a short amount of time to maximize this and to win, because a lot of our guys are in their late 20s now. So we felt like we needed to pivot. So I respect that. So and we'll see if it works out. We got an established coach, got some good pieces to see if the bench, gets improved, but a lot of things to look forward to. Summer League starts today. They play the Pistons today, so we'll see how the young guys look in game 1 of their Summer League. So, but Dex, I appreciate you coming on the show, man. It's an honor. I've seen your work, and I respect everything you do. Like we said, we got to chop it up on the draft show, got to talk about it. So, your first time on the pod, appreciate you, man. And before you go, anything you want to plug before you want to sign off?
Yeah, man. First of all, just thank you. Glad to be here for the first time. We'll definitely do it again. And I guess the thing I'd like to plug is that for people should know, we got a new episode of New York Got Game coming up this week on Monday. Chris is going to be the guest. So we're doing a little home and home. Chris is going to be on with me. We're going to talk about what we saw from the Knicks through their first 2 Summer League games, how these prospects are looking. So that should be a fun episode that'll drop on Monday afternoon that Chris and I will talk about. We'll look at how the Knicks played against the Pistons. And I forgot who they play on Sunday. It's escaped me right now, but I know they have a late afternoon game on Sunday at 5:30. So we're going to record and talk about that. So Chris will be on with me. Appreciate everybody out there, the Knicks fans out there, community that's very dear to my heart. All the content creators like Chris, please support him and what he continues to do. I like to say that all the time. Excuse me. We need different voices out there, and that's always important in media and content creation. You saw some of the people that were checking in the chat. My guy Ron was still Knicks fans. Fritz, all people I know who I love to see everybody support everybody in the community. I think that's dope.
It's a great community. It really is.
It's a great community. I was disappointed. I didn't get to Knicks Twitter Day. I gotta pull up to that next year. I'm gonna do that next year.
Oh yeah, I didn't get to go. I had work. I'm in training. We're gonna go.
I'll pull up next.
We're gonna be in training, ready to go for next season.
I don't know how much I'm gonna play. But
if I can't play, if the knees are still a little creaky, I'm just gonna scout. I'm gonna scout, and I'm gonna give guys, if I'm scouting the NBA draft, I'm scouting guys and give them performance grades.
I might play a bit. I don't play as much as I used to, but which I miss because I tore my Achilles.
You saw some of those dudes. Some of these guys were. Sean was flying in the air.
Oh, Sean caught a body out there. And I was like, look, listen, hey man, I understand that I'm 42. I've torn my Achilles before. I love hooping though. I don't hoop as much as I used to, but to be out there with the Knicks fans, good. I was just happy to see, seriously, I say this with all love. I was happy to see that event was put on and how people showed out and the unity from the Knicks community and everybody. Shout out to Kaz who was hosting and Christian Winfield from the Daily News who's doing his thing. So,
I've known Kaz for years since living in Staten Island. We go back way back. 2007.
Shout out to Kaz. Anytime Knicks, shout out to you. Salute. Anytime Knicks always rocks with me on the live shows every week. So I appreciate that. But no, man, Chris, thank you, man. I appreciate you having me on. I'm looking forward to us recording and then dropping an episode. That's going to be fun. We'll talk about these players. So you're fantastic at what you do in the scouting, and you're a valuable part of the the community. Ron is right. I want to tell you, Ron is right there. He's like, stay on the bench, Dex. We don't need you tearing something. I don't need that again. Ron is right. You know what? I might be better served. If you want me to coach, I might be coaching. You want me to do some play-by-play or something? I might do that. Maybe we do some content from there.
Yeah. Yo,
but I'm gonna still pull up. I'm gonna pull up in support though, for sure.
But you said, all right, quick. You tore your Achilles, so like mentally, how long did that take you to like feel comfortable just doing any type of physical activity?
That's a great question.
That's my fear. Like, as I'm 36, I've torn some knee ligaments, but like my worst fear is like I've had some calf like issues. I'm like, what if I just start playing pick and I tear my Achilles? Like, we're not like NBA players. We're making 100 and like we're good.
Right.
Like, I can't afford to miss work if I tear my Achilles.
So I'm gonna tell. I'll add a little more time. I'll tell a quick story. So I tore my Achilles hoop, and I think this is 13 years ago, right? And it was nothing sexy. I gave up the ball. I was about to cut in the back pick, almost like Tyrese Halliburton. I just went down. Same way. And I had a partial tear, not a complete tear. Okay. But I felt it, and I felt like somebody. They say it feels like somebody kicks you in the back of your leg.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
I was playing half court. I swore a ball came from the other court and hit me. I swore, and so when I got up, I thought I just ball hit me. I get up, I just felt all the pain is incredible. Like not incredible and feeling good, just incredible in terms of I've never felt some pain like that. It was like somebody just stabbed you like a million knives in the back of your leg. Wow. And I don't know how I did this, but obviously I didn't play anymore. And I walked back to my car like about 6 blocks, and I was walking so slow.
Oh, you walked 6 blocks?
Bro, I don't know how I did that. And I drove home, and
that must have been the worst drive ever.
Now, luckily, it was my left Achilles that I tore, not my right. So if it was my right, I would not have been able to drive. So I drove home, and I didn't know. Didn't know that I really tore my Achilles yet. So the next day, or like that evening, I remember I was just in bad pain. I had this job. For some people who know me, I've done a lot of work also in video production. So I had to shoot. I used to shoot a lot of video. And it was my first day doing this work for this company. And I had to go do the shoot. So long story short, my mom comes to my apartment. She wraps up my ankle and leg, thinking it's fine. And I go the next day, literally went on the train to Union Square, did a shoot. Ooh. Yeah, bro, I don't know how I did this on a torn Achilles, and I did it. Probably wasn't the best thing. I don't get to the doctor till a couple days later, and he immediately touches it. He's like, "Oh yeah, you tore your Achilles. You have partial tear. You gotta go see an orthopedist." So I get to the orthopedist, and maybe that's 2 days after that, and the orthopedist is like, "Well, we don't recommend surgery." If you ever notice when guys tear their Achilles, they have the surgery within 48 hours because there's a high risk of infection. So he was like, "Look, it's been too long." It was 6 days at that point. He was like, "I don't even know how you were walking around on this. We can't do the surgery because it's too high of a risk. So what we got to do is we got to put you in a boot." So I was in a boot. This happened in April. I remember it was a couple weeks from my birthday. I was in a boot the entire summer. And it's hot. I was in a boot the entire summer. And basically what you got to do is you got to stay in the boot because your Achilles will regenerate on its own and reattach. But it has to be extremely stable. Now, to the question that you asked, which was how long did it take for you to feel comfortable? And I love that you asked the question the way you did. You said to do anything, because a lot of people will ask me the question, be like, how long did it feel comfortable for you to play basketball? And I'm like, you're asking the wrong question. The question is, how long do you feel? The best question is, how long does it take you to feel comfortable that if you were in a restaurant or something and somebody said yelled fire, that you could run out?
Yeah.
I would say 2.5 years.
Oh, that's a real
because there was a long, even when I was out the boot and I did rehab and I was going to physical therapy, there was a lot of time where I couldn't stand for long periods of time without feeling really fatigued. I remember I went to a Joey Badass concert maybe a year after that, and I went with my boy, and I was standing there and I could not stand after I don't know, 30, 40 minutes. I was like, yo, I have to sit because I would just feel the fatigue and pain in it. And so that took time. And I would say maybe 2 years if I felt like if I needed to run, I could. Now,
any sudden thing, right? You got to feel, just getting up quick, you're sure. Oh, wow. No.
So to be fully transparent with people, I haven't really played competitive basketball since that time. Like, I'll still go, I take my daughter to the park and I'll shoot around a little bit and stuff like that. And people always come up to me over the last couple of years. I'll be at the park shooting around like, yo, you want to run? You want to play? And I'm like, nah. You know what I mean? Because I don't want to tear it or overcompensate and tear my other Achilles, which has happened to a friend of mine. He tore both of his Achilles. And his second one was 2 weeks before his wedding. Crazy. So for me, I don't feel it. And it's so funny you said the other day, one of the things I generally feel, and people should know this with Achilles, people say this all the time, is when the weather changes or like we have to change the humidity, I'll start feeling a little bit in my calf. And I always think about that. I'm like, man, sometimes I want to hoop, but it's not worth it. You know what I mean? You got to understand as you get older. It's like Ron said, just stay on the bench, man. Sometimes you just got to stay on the bench. And you got to know what it is. So that's why my heart goes out to people like Damian Lillard and obviously Tyrese Halliburton and even Jason Tatum. Like, it's a painful injury, and I'm not an athlete. Those athletes will get round-the-clock treatment and they'll have the ability to have the surgery quickly and all that other stuff. But it's the mental part of it. That's the part people don't think about. It's the just walking right is a process. So and then trusting to run and cut again is a process. So not that we didn't even get to, I didn't even talk about jumping. So yeah, man, it took me, that was a good question you asked. It took me like 2 years, I would say, before I really felt like, okay, if I need to run, I'm good on this.
That's
but
great.
I'm not there for the basketball part yet competitively. Like, I'm not there yet. Maybe. See, and now this is out there. If I play on Knicks Twitter Day, people are going to target me. They're going to try to be like, yo, we push Dex left. Like, that's it.
We're going to have a scouting report on you.
You got a scouting report on me now. Ron says you got to give it up.
Yeah. Oh, it's great. No, I'm glad you said, because when you said the Achilles, I was just interested to see just how because I've torn my knee up a few times, and I have those moments where I want to hoop, but I'm like, man, I don't know, man. What if I just make that wrong turn or that, I jump the wrong way, or my knee, your knee just, your foot just gets stuck, and I just sometimes I'll stop, like, say, all right, I'm not gonna play today, because just that mental is like, I don't even want to think about it, and I'm gonna think too much. That's when you get hurt.
And you made the other good point in that Ron is Ron. I hear you, brother. Ron is the big bro. Ron is like, sit down. You make the other good point in that, I can't afford to miss work. You know what I'm saying?
I can't.
I
got two kids.
Yeah, that's gonna like, I know people are gonna look at me and be like, I can do my job. You know what's crazy? My barber just tore his Achilles like a month and a half ago, hooping. And he just tore his Achilles. And I was kind of telling him, I was like, yo, man, it might be time for you to sit your behind down. Shout out to Neff. Neff is a huge Knicks fan. And he's still cutting his hair, but it slowed him down. Because that's the thing I'll tell you. It's not standing. I could do my job.
Yeah,
but it's really gonna slow you down, just in terms of everything you do, walking to the subway or going here, it really slows you down. Like, even if you have that boot on,
the bathroom, just
go into the bathroom.
Just go to the bathroom. That's gonna be a chore.
I'm gonna tell you one other thing really quick, because funny you said walking to the bathroom. So when I tore my Achilles, I'm in the boot for like 4 to 5 months, and and I hadn't started PT yet. And the orthopedist had told me I only needed to be in the boot for like another 3 weeks. So in my old apartment I was in, I took a nap one day. I was about to go to work. I'm about to go to the bathroom. And I had like this extension cord running. I tripped over the extension cord.
Come on,
and Chris, I heard like a pop, right? And I was like, oh no, I was like, there's something happened again, and what, blah, blah, blah. And so, I called my orthopedist, and he was kind of like telling me, calm down. He was like, what it probably was, because at the time when it's healing, you have a lot of swelling and inflammation around it. Inflammation popped. So that's what happened. But because they wanted to be cautious, they told me I had to now be in the boot for another 2 months, which was the safe thing to do. But it was a setback that had me, because I was all excited. I'm like, yo, I'm about to be out the boot. I'm about to start PT, get this,
Not today.
Not today. Not today. So with all that being said, that's why I'm extra cautious. And look, listen, for all the people out there, as you get older, you know what I mean? You got to make the decisions that me and Chris are making, that Ron is making. You have to make these business decisions, right? You got to make these business decisions and think about, your body. And so, yeah, man, that's something I did. I don't think I've ever shared this story publicly. So it was fun to talk about Achilles.
Yeah, man. Like I said, once you get older, like people ask you, like, yo, you want to play on? You got to really think about it. Like when you were younger, I could play 3 hours full court. Now you get older,
I hoop all the time. I hoop 4 or 5 times a week. Like
now, the only hooping I do is okay.
Yeah, same here. That's it. I take my ball. I'll shoot around at the court. My daughter in the park. I'll play with her. But outside of that, for me, it's just hitting the gym, and I love biking. I love cycling, and those are my loves now. So it is what it is. I had my day. I wish it lasted a little longer. You know what I mean? It would have been nice to come up to Knicks Twitter Day and try to school some of the youngins. But I'm a trust big bro Ron on this. Nah, man, that's not to be.
Oh, that's funny. Well, how's your game? Before we go, how's your game? What's your game like? What's your
style?
So
my game, especially, I was a decent player in high school. I had some Division III recruiting. I was a really good defensive player, good shot block. I had a good post game, got good footwork, I would say. Not a lot of range, decent handle. It was my game. Because, I'm 6'2", and when I was in high school at the level I was playing, they had me playing a lot in the post. So I had a pretty good post game.
Same with me in high school.
So, I would say that's my game. Good post game, good post defender. I feel very confident in that, and good on the ball defender. I don't think I have the lateral quickness of movement anymore after this Achilles injury. But
I think we got the same scouting report. I think we're the same because I thought I was going to be like, because I had a cousin who was like 6'5", so I'm like, oh, I'm going to be just like him. And I've been the same height since high school. Like I thought I was going to have a growth spurt, and I was a big. They made me a big, and then they thought I was going to grow too, and then I never. So when I had the opportunity to go to varsity, they're like, no, you're too small, actually. But I was like, yo, but I could defend. I could, like, no, you're too small. You're point guard size. I was like, I was devastated.
That kind of messed me up for the next level because I would have had to play more on the perimeter. And my, even if I'd played as a 2, at a 3, even at the Division III level, my outside shot wasn't great like that. So, but man, I'll say this, and basketball is my favorite sport to cover. I love basketball. I always love basketball. I do miss playing. I miss playing, man. That's why when I saw the videos from Knicks Twitter Day, I was like, man.
I was hyped, right? It got you feeling. You know what? Next year, maybe I'll train a little bit, play a couple minutes, just be a part of it.
You know what I got to do? I meant to do this. I didn't even text CP. I should have texted him and been like, yo, how was the recovery? Because CP's a couple years younger than me.
I talked to them. They're like, they're still in recovery.
Sore?
They're feeling it still. Alex is still feeling it. He told me.
Alex is still fit. I got to text those guys, and they said they're still feeling it. All right. See, that's the other thing, the recovery part too. Hey, we sound like 2 old guys talking about this, but hey, this is life, man. Ron is out here trying to put us on game. This is life. You know what I mean? That's what it is.
We just a couple minutes next year, Dex. Just to get a couple minutes, get in the post, get some rebounds.
I tell you what, though, Chris, if you do a couple minutes and you tear something, you're gonna be so pissed. You're gonna be so mad.
Right? Imagine just playing like 2 minutes and just like, wow, was that worth it? Now I'm like torn ACL.
Nah, I'm not even gonna think about that. But I will be there next year. That I will say.
Regardless,
I'd love to be with the people, man. Especially if they do it in Brooklyn again. I love to be with the people. Be dope.
For sure, yeah. I will be there regardless. if I'm playing or they're just chilling, watching. But like I said, Dex, I appreciate your time, man. This was a lot of fun, brother. So this was like I said, I've watched you and from afar and respected your work. So to get you on, chop it up, it means a lot. And for you to have me on your platform this week, that means a lot, man.
Thank you, man. I love meeting new people and talking to different people in this community, and just being a part of it and getting to do what I do is a blessing. So thank you for having me on, man. The respect is mutual. I'm glad you had me on, and I'm sure I'll be the first of many. So thank you, brother. Appreciate that.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. So you can make sure to follow me at Off the Ball Pod make sure to like, subscribe on the YouTube channel, follow me on X, follow me on Instagram. I love talking hoops or whatever you want to talk, whether it's high school basketball, college basketball, recruiting, all that stuff. I'm always talking any type of basketball, summer league, whatever you want to talk about. The 25-year-old, we'll talk about the 25-year-old who's been on 5 teams, if you got a shot. So I love talking any type of basketball. So like I said, once again, appreciate Dex for having me on the pod. We'll definitely have coming on the pod. Definitely will have him back on the show. But on that note, guys, everyone, be well, be safe, take care. Peace out.